Mayor, you're kicking it off.
Shall I kick it off? Should I take off my mask when I'm speaking? Okay. I kind of look better like this, but it's okay.
I might just keep my mask on, but you're good.
That's all right. Good morning, everyone, or good early afternoon. I am so proud as mayor of this city to be joined by my friend, my colleague and leader, Councilmember Vang, and so many community leaders to celebrate the awarding of $1 million investment out of our federal ARPA funds to help alleviate food insecurity and hunger in Sacramento. This is a momentous day as we award to 17 worthy and very important community organizations real dollars to get out into the community and with the people who need help the most. This is a celebration, but in some ways it's a very sobering day because we must acknowledge, and I will admit that maybe it was of some surprise to me, that the number one issue during this pandemic was the numbers of people without the comfort of knowing where their next meal was going to come from. Whether it was children whose daily free or reduced lunch was interrupted by the pandemic, whether it was seniors used to being able to get out to the market, no longer having that ability, whether it was the thousands of families that lined up as the community stepped forward to provide food baskets for people, not just during the holidays, but year round. That's the reality of modern America and even modern Sacramento. As proud as we are of all the good and great things that are happening in this community, let us never forget that there are people who are suffering in very real ways and need our help. And so when we got this largesse from the federal government, the federal ARPA funds, we had some choices. We could have invested the money more internally because, boy, there's a lot of need here within the city and the city organization. We did some of that. But thanks to Councilmember Vang and my colleagues, we instead made intentional decisions to invest the majority of this ARPA money into the community and into where the need was the greatest, whether it was affordable housing, whether it was propping up and helping those trying to make a living in the creative economy, whether it was helping small businesses struggling. Our focus and our effort was outside of this building. And as it should and it must be. And hunger rose to the top. This $1 million is not enough, but it is a good, solid investment. As my friend Vang says, an intentionality to this decision to say that we are going to always focus on the people in the greatest need. And we're going to make sure that we invest in these community-based organizations that are the real heroes and heroines of this community. We at government, we maybe set the table, we make important decisions, but the real work, let's not forget, are done by the people standing behind Councilmember Vang and I, who deliver directly to the people every day. This is a great day. Thank you to all of the panelists who helped make these hard decisions. We had over $5 million in requests, and maybe that tells you something as well. The need is greater, and I tell you, when we get that next dollar, this is going to continue to be a priority here in our city. Councilmember Vang?
Thank you,
the
Mayor.
microphone is
Thank
yours.
you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm really excited to be here with all of our recipients, our diverse, culturally. I think this is really a reflection of Sacramento. You see the beauty standing next to me. I'm really excited that the mayor is joining us today, all of our amazing grassroots organization and community partners on the ground to really celebrate this historical day in the city of Sacramento. Last year, the city council did approve these dollars to address food insecurity in our city. And you heard earlier from the mayor, COVID-19 pandemic made one thing really clear, that our food system in Sacramento is not working for everyone. Although we are America's farm to fork capital, here in our very own backyard, many of our families, our residents, our seniors, our babies are still food insecure. And through this grant, we do have that opportunity to change the trajectory of how we deliver food in our community. I also just want to take this moment that there's been so much work done in our community already to really address food insecurity in the city of Sacramento. But we also know that here at the city, if we're not intentional and focused on food, it will fall to the wayside. And so that's when I approached Mayor Steinberg right when I was elected to city council and said, hey, I want to start a food justice task force to make sure that we have a central entity that is really focused on guiding us, helping me and the mayor and the council in terms of our investment and our policies around food. I also want to share that it did take some work to get to this moment because intentionality does matter. Earlier this year, our Food Justice Task Force worked a lot and met monthly to develop actually a racial equity framework for this funding. Over multiple community engagement sessions, along with our local food, local places action plan, our community informed us exactly what they want to see and how these dollars should be used. And in particular, I heard over and over again, and what our task force heard over and over again, that we got to make sure that we're supporting the groups on the ground that's doing this work. And two of the top priorities that rose to the top was one, making sure that we increase access points to healthy food in low income and underserved communities. And two, making sure we invest in our food economy. The proposed framework created by our Food Justice Task Force was then used to inform the NOFA, the Notice of Funding Availability, alongside our city interim rapid response tool. That's how the funding was actually determined. We had a review panel of 5 individuals, 2 staff, and 3 community members who used the framework to determine the funding. And as you heard earlier from the mayor, while we only set aside $1 million, there were over $5 million of requests in grant funding. And that just shows you the need that we have in our city. I know that the need is dire, but you heard from the mayor that earlier that we got to stay committed, right? 1 million is just really the first step, but we have to make sure that we stay steadfast in investing in these communities that is really on the ground doing this work. I do want to say thank you to our incredible city staff, Amanda, Ginger, and Mikkel from the Office of Economic Development for their work on utilizing our equity framework and the interim rapid response tool to draft this RFP and to assist the panel. I want to give a shout out to the 3 community members who did sign a conflict form. They were amazing and great. If you're watching this, if you're standing behind me, I want to say thank you for dedicating your time to really review all of the applications and working with city staff to determine the awardees. And then lastly, I also want to share with you that the full list will be released today, and you can visit our heartandhustle.org/food/justice around 12:45. I believe that's when staff is looking at me. We're going to post it up live so you can see all of the organization that received the funding from this food justice grant. And then lastly, while the mayor and I are opening it, it's really important that you hear from some of the community-based organizations on the ground that's receiving the grant. And they're going to share a little bit about how they're going to be using these funds. And so I know that there was numerous organizations that received the grant today, but we do have 3 organizations that will come up here really on behalf of all of us to share a little bit about the work that they're doing. Again, I'm really, really proud of our city staff, of our community members, and especially a shout out to the Food Justice Task Force for being really intentional about how we spend city dollars and making sure that it reaches the communities that need it the most. And with that, I'm going to invite Julie, the executive director from Stand for Settlement, to be our first speaker.
I just want to say thank you to the city and to the panelists. It's a game changer for us to have additional funding to provide emergency assistance for food at Stanford Settlement Neighborhood Center. People in our service area were struggling before the pandemic, and they have not bounced back as quickly as maybe some of the rest of us have. between increasing rents and people being on the verge of homelessness and how the economy is, people are really struggling. And so being able to provide emergency food assistance to people in our community means that they can be strategic about spending the limited resources they have, so they can keep the heat on, they can keep the lights on, whether or not they can regularly go to work, because we're still missing work, because people are still getting sick, and we're not all the way through this event yet. I'm grateful to be up here with so many amazing partners who are going to do excellent work. Thank you for entrusting us with these funds.
Can you say your whole name?
Julie Roten.
Thank you, Julie. Next, we have Bill Knowlton and Marilyn Mann from the Mac Road Partnership, Valley High Community Center.
Well, good afternoon, and thank you for having us here today. It really is an honor, and thank you to our council members and mayor, the Food Justice Task Force, for taking on this charge to serve members of our community and really supporting the work of the nonprofits and our staff that dig in daily. So we are greatly appreciative. The funding that we received will go toward our youth food service access program. This allows us to provide food, healthy snacks, home boxes to take to their house to help with their family needs. This means kids don't go hungry after school or on weekends or during times when school is not active. We have a Christmas vacation coming up soon. We know that kids will not have access to food at school because they're not in term at that point. But they come to the Mac Road Valley High Community Center and they come and eat, and they have a safe place to be. This funding also helps provide operation dollars to keep the doors open. Utilities, food, everything has gone up in cost. So just the basic cost of providing services to children and other family members has increased significantly. And we just appreciate the fact that there is significant thought into how these grants are being funded and the intentionality that our leadership is providing. So thank you for being part of the Reimagine Mac Road Foundation, Mac Road Partnership team, and investing your time and energy into not just our organization, but to the youth and families we serve. Thank you.
And our last speaker today, Dr. and Pastor Decoy Porter from Genesis Church in South Sacramento.
Porter.
Hello, my name again is Dr. Decoy Porter. I'm the senior pastor of the Genesis Church in South Sacramento. And I first must thank Mayor Steinberg and Councilmember Vang for launching this food justice task force in our city to ensure that our most vulnerable communities have sufficient, healthy, and accessible food for all. Besides me is my partner in crime, Brother Bernard Moore, who sees to our weekly food distribution and giveaway. You know, as a senior pastor of the Genesis Church in South Sacramento, we often see families who struggle to make ends meet and provide quality food for their families, particularly people of color and lower income individuals. And the recent pandemic has only worsened this problem, with communities of color disproportionately bearing the brunt of it. For 32 years, my congregation and I have done what we could to address this critical need for quality food access by participating in various food distribution programs with multiple community partners. Yet this issue of food access and hunger continues to persist. But today we stand with this coalition to say no more, and not on our watch. No more to any resident of our city struggling with hunger and access to quality food. No more to our children being limited to receiving a quality meal only at their school and not in their homes. The lack of quality food for all is an injustice. I'm going to say it again. The lack of quality food for all is an injustice. And I am proud to have our church to be a part of this food justice task force to ensure that every person has equitable access to quality food. Thanks again to the mayor, Councilwoman Vang, for offering us this wonderful opportunity to serve our city in this greater capacity. We have a lot of work to do, but we're ready to do the work and to do our part. Thank you.
We'd be happy to answer any of your questions, but let's just end on a hopeful note. This is the holiday season, and what I'm gratified for as mayor of this city is that we have a community that always steps up, that in the worst of times, and certainly the pandemic was among the worst of times, we saw more community engagement, more leadership, more commitment than ever before. And so let us continue with that spirit, not just in the month of December, but in the year ahead. Who knows what struggles or what challenges await us as a community and as individuals and as communities. Nothing can ever take away from the strength you see behind us here today. And we're very grateful for that and hopeful. Thank you all very much for coming. Happy to answer any questions. Okay. Thank you all very, very much. Appreciate it. Okay. With Bill.
So you have a nice vacation? You met with
Your board chair, Matt, I did, and his family. Yes, and his wife.
She works with Mercy House.
Mercy House,
Yeah.
Nice.
Nice one.
Yeah, we were on that cruise.
Yeah,
my son got engaged.
Oh, how wonderful. We do a group photo of everyone.
Okay, group photo. So we're doing good.
Things are good.
I see North Are folks in?
I have
10 total or 10?
11 total.
Sorry.
It's about the truth. Oh my
How
God.
did you?
So I would always.
Okay, ready?
Everybody
Come on in, Maryland.
Everyone in Maryland, in Maryland.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and smile. All right, beautiful. Thank you guys so much.